Hello, aloha. Welcome to another video of Talk Story with Jin. If you haven't watched any of my other videos, my videos are called Talk Story with Jin because in Hawaii, we talk about talk story, which just means time sitting around with friends and family and sharing stories, listening to each other, asking questions, and learning together. So my email list is called Talk Story with Jin, and these videos are what we do on my email list. But more importantly, I like it to be a two-way conversation. So I'd love to hear from you, questions, and stories. So I'll invite you again at the end of the video to share with me, but that's an important component of Talk Story with Jin. All right, so right now we're having a conversation about knee health. And I really want to thank all of you who are here having this conversation with me. We've really gotten going and you've been sharing a bit with me. We'll get into that in a minute. But I just really wanted to thank everybody for being here, either on my email list or on my social media, and participating in this conversation about knee health with me. My last video, we went over my story about my own knee health and talked about how I was a gymnast for a really long time and how I wore out my right knee and how I thought that I would have knee pain for the rest of my life. But through yoga, alignment, stretching, and stability, which are the three main components of positive knee health, really positive body health, but in this case right now we're talking about our knee health. Through those yoga elements, alignment, stretching, and stability, I was able to turn that around and I haven't had knee pain in a really long time. And I'm really excited about that. It makes a big difference in my life and I'm really glad that I'm going to get to share all that with you all so that you can also show your knees some aloha and just have your knees feel a lot better. You really can make your knees feel better. I know for some of us we feel like that might be impossible at the moment, but you really can, and I'm really excited to help you do that. So I have been teaching yoga now for almost a decade, and I love helping people make their bodies feel better, but also make themselves feel better. A big component of having good physical health is that helps us just to have less stress in our life in general. When we don't feel good physically, it's easier for us not to feel good emotionally and spiritually and mentally too. So having good physical health, including the health of our knees, is really, really important. Now, today I want to talk to us about the connection between our hips and our knees. So last time we mentioned briefly the connection between our feet and our knees. And that for me was a really huge component of changing how my knees felt. Another big component for me, and it will be for you, is to actually stretch and open up our hips. So just like with our feet, as I was sharing in the last video, our knees don't exist in isolation. And so what's above and below them makes a really big difference. And so learning to engage the arches of our feet and change the way we're using our feet is really important, but also opening up our hips is really important. Now for me, having tight hips was a huge component in the lack of health in my knees. So aside from being a gymnast for 14 years, I also grew up riding horses. I was riding a horse when I was just months old. I certainly wasn't riding by myself, but I was up on a horse. And I learned to ride very quickly, and I rode all the time. I grew up on a horse farm, so I had access to my horses every day, and I rode a lot. I was teaching horseback riding lessons by the time I was 10 years old, believe it or not, and it's always been a big thing in my life. Right now, I still teach horseback riding lessons. I teach therapeutic riding lessons to kids and adults with different types of disabilities, and it's one of the big components of my life that brings me a large amount of joy. But as a child, since I rode so much, I ended up making my hips really tight. So if you can imagine when you're riding a horse, you're using your legs a lot and you're squeezing inward a lot with your legs to tell the horse what to do. And so that made my hips super tight. When I first started yoga, wondering why in the world are my hips so tight? And I used to struggle with that. And then at one point I realized, oh, right, it's from all that horseback riding. And when I first started yoga, I really just couldn't stand stretching my hips. For those of you who know what pigeon pose is a pose where you're stretching the outside of your hips, like right on the side where the side of your leg connects to the outside of your glutes, your butt cheeks. And pigeon pose stretches that and really gets at opening up that part of you. And it was so tight for me that every time my teacher said it was time for pigeon pose, I just wanted to run out of the room, honestly. Like, I couldn't stand it. And then finally I realized, oh, this is something that I really, really need to do. And so the more we can stretch our hips and learn to open up our hips, the more that's going to help us alleviate pressure on our knees and show our knees as much aloha as possible. Now, our hips are really complicated joints. Hips and shoulders are really complicated joints. They move in a bunch of different directions. If you think about it, you can move your leg all around. You can turn out to the side, you can turn it in. And so there's really a lot that goes into stretching our hips. And so as this conversation goes forward, we're going to talk about different ways of stretching our hips, because it's not just like one stretch is going to do it for you, although I do have favorite stretches that I'm going to recommend that you do as much as possible. But there really are quite a few aspects to stretching our hips. So we can stretch our quads, there's the front of our legs, we can stretch our hamstrings to the back of our legs, and you can see the quads and the hamstrings really clearly connect the hips and the knees. We can also stretch our IT band, which is the outside component of our thigh. That's a really tough spot to stretch, but becomes really important because it puts a lot of pressure on our knees as well. And we get to stretch the insides of our thighs, and then our glutes, so our butt cheeks, and the muscles that wrap around there on the side. So we'll be going over that as this conversation goes on, and I'm excited to share all that with you. For now, though, I want to thank everyone who's contributed to the conversation and share just a little bit of what you guys have said. I asked, what are your biggest concerns with your knees? And some of you said that you have sharp pains occasionally. Some said that your knees felt unstable and weak. People are worried about either needing to have a hip replacement in the future, or because they've had, a knee replacement in the future, or because they've already had a knee replacement or a partial knee replacement. And I want to share that, knee replacements are a huge thing, and sometimes they can make you feel better. A lot of times they don't, though, and so I like to think of them as a last resort. But whether you've had a knee replacement or not, or you're worried about having one in the future, the things that I'm sharing with you and the things that we're going to share as we continue this conversation can really help support your knees. Even if you've had a knee replacement, or if you think you need to have a knee replacement, you can still do these things, and they're going to help you with that. A few of you said you want to be without medication for the pain in your knees. You don't want to be medicating yourself all the time. And I think that's really, really important and really, really good. We should all strive for that. The less we can be on medication, the better. Some of you have expressed concern about going up and down the stairs, which is a really important thing in our lives. You need to be able to go up and down stairs without having pain and without feeling worried that your knees are going to give out. And really, you just want your knees to be happy, and you want them to last. Now, if you're having knee pain, or you're worried about knee issues, or you're not worried about them now, but you're thinking about them in the future, you're not alone. So a recent study in American Family Physician, which is a medical journal, the study came out last November 2018, so about a year ago, said that 25% of adults have knee pain. That's a quarter of everybody. So if you're with 4 people, there's a good chance that if you're not one of the four people that has knee pain or knee issues, that one of those 4 people that you're with does. And I think that's kind of crazy. We need to work on that. the amount of pain that we're experiencing as a society in our knees has increased 65% in the last 20 years. It accounts for over 4 million primary care visits annually. That's a lot. That's a lot. And we're spending a lot of money dealing with our knees. So the things that we're gonna go over here in the next few videos are really things that you can do proactively to prevent yourself from ending up with having knee pain or knee issues in the future. And if you're already having those issues, there are things that you can do to support your knees as much as possible, to show your knees some aloha and really start to turn that around. And hopefully, like I did, not have to deal with knee pain on a regular basis. All right, in the next video, we're gonna go over another little tidbit of alleviating knee pain, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to do going forward to really dive in to these things so that you can learn them and implement them in your life. All right, again, thank you all for being my ohana. Ohana in Hawaiian means family, and thank you for being part of it, being on my email list, being on my social media, and participating in this conversation. One last thing before I go, I want to have a little contest. So if you comment on Facebook, and you can go facebook.com/yogawithjen. If you comment on Facebook, reply to me by email, that's gonna get you one entry. So either of those things get you one entry. Every time you reply or comment, I'll give you another entry. If you forward the email and copy me that you forwarded it, or email me back that you forwarded it, or you share the post on social media, I'm gonna give you another entry, and that's gonna get you an entry for a drawing to win a free spot in my knee health workshop. So more details coming on that in the next video, and I will see you guys again in a couple days and hopefully hear from you by email and on social media. All right, wherever you are, I hope you have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or a good night, wherever you are in the world watching this video, and whatever time it is while you're watching this video. And I'll see you guys again soon. All right, for now, I'll say aloha and namaste.